Daniel grew up in a wealthy and powerful family where everything had to be perfect. His father was a successful businessman, and his mother, Linda, was an elegant and influential figure in high society. From a young age, Daniel was groomed to be the perfect heir, the successor his parents had always dreamed of. Every step he took, every word he spoke, had to align with the standards set by his family. It was an invisible burden he carried throughout his life. Linda was an ambitious mother. She never hid her desire for Daniel to marry the perfect woman, someone who could not only love him, but also uphold the flawless image of the family in the eyes of society. She liked the main character because she was intelligent, elegant, and came from a good background. To Linda, she was the ideal choice for a daughter-in-law. She often reminded Daniel, "Marry her, and you'll have a stable life, a prestigious family, and a secure career." But Daniel always felt that his relationship with the main character wasn't purely about love. It was part of the perfect plan his family envisioned. He felt like he was living for other people's expectations, not for himself. Many times he wanted to tell his mother that he needed time to find his own happiness, but the fear of seeing her disappointment held him back. He didn't want to hurt his mother, nor did he want to let his father down. It was an inner conflict he didn't know how to share with anyone. Relationship with Emily. Emily appeared like a breath of fresh air amidst Daniel's pressured life. They had been childhood friends, but as they grew older, their relationship deepened. Emily knew how to make Daniel feel comfortable, free from societal expectations. She laughed when he talked about the pressure of being perfect. She encouraged him to live authentically, without having to please anyone. To Daniel, Emily was a safe space where he could be himself, not the perfect heir his parents wanted him to be. But what Daniel didn't realize was that Emily was exploiting his vulnerability. She understood his inner turmoil and cleverly made herself the only person who truly got him. She often said, "Daniel, you don't need to be perfect to be loved. I like you for who you are." Those words gave Daniel comfort and made him feel unconditionally loved. While the main character was busy planning the wedding, Emily was always there for him, listening and sharing. She didn't attack directly, but subtly planted doubts in Daniel's mind about his relationship with the main character. She would say things like, "She's always so perfect. Do you think she loves the real you, or just the perfect image everyone sees?" That question made Daniel waver. He began to wonder if the main character truly loved him, or just loved the stability and security he offered. Every time he felt pressured by his mother, or overwhelmed by the wedding preparations, he turned to Emily. With her, he could laugh and be himself, without the burden of being the ideal man. Confusion and emotional dependency. Gradually, Daniel became emotionally dependent on Emily as a lifeline from his family's and society's pressures. He didn't realize that he was becoming weaker and being emotionally manipulated in a subtle way. Emily became the only person he trusted, the only one who made him feel like himself. Meanwhile, he grew distant from the main character, seeing her as too perfect and too focused on maintaining their flawless public image. Daniel didn't know that Emily had orchestrated everything from the beginning. She didn't just want him, she wanted to prove that she could take away everything from the main character, including the man she loved. Emily wanted to win, not out of love, but out of jealousy and a desire to prove herself. Psychological conflict. Daniel found himself torn between two women. On one side was the main character, who genuinely loved him but unintentionally made him feel suffocated by her perfection. On the other side was Emily, who gave him a sense of freedom but harbored secret intentions of possession. He was trapped between duty and the desire for freedom, between true love and calculated manipulation. Daniel had no idea he was becoming a pawn in Emily's game. He thought he was fighting for his own happiness, but in reality, he was getting lost in his own emotional weakness. This confusion led him to decide to leave the main character, the only one who truly loved him, and choose Emily, who had masterfully staged the perfect play to take everything for herself. Emily's mastery of emotional manipulation. Emily knew how to play the emotional game perfectly. She never attacked directly or spoke ill of the main character in front of Daniel. Instead, she skillfully planted doubts by appearing at the right moment, in the right place, and saying exactly what Daniel needed to hear. Every time Daniel felt overwhelmed by his mother's and family's expectations for a perfect wedding, Emily was there, gently asking, "Are you sure this is what you want, or are you just doing what everyone expects of you?" That question pierced Daniel's deepest insecurities. He started to question his relationship with the main character, wondering if their love was genuinely from the heart or just part of the perfect plan his family had laid out. He didn't realize that these thoughts didn't naturally occur to him. They were the seeds Emily had carefully planted. Every time Daniel faced difficulties or felt suffocated by the relentless wedding preparations, Emily appeared. She crafted seemingly natural scenarios, like coincidentally meeting him at a cafe near his office, texting him just as he was feeling stressed, or showing up unexpectedly at social gatherings with a knowing smile. Emily made Daniel believe that only she truly understood him. She emphasized, "I'm always here, no matter what you choose." That false sense of understanding made Daniel feel safe, and he became increasingly dependent on Emily's presence to feel less lonely. While the main character was busy planning the perfect wedding, Emily made him feel like he was the center of her attention. Daniel started spending more time with Emily, not intentionally at first, but gradually he began seeking her out whenever he felt pressured. This emotional dependency grew as he found comfort in his conversations with Emily. Little by little, she became his emotional anchor, drawing him away from the main character, who was too preoccupied with creating the flawless image that his family and society demanded. Emily's manipulation was so subtle and calculated that Daniel never saw it coming. She made him believe that choosing her was his own decision, when in reality, she had orchestrated every moment to pull him closer. Confusion and indecision. Daniel sank deeper into confusion and indecision as his emotions grew increasingly chaotic. On one hand, he loved the main character, the woman who had stood by his side for years, the one he once believed he would build a happy family with. But on the other hand, he was drawn to Emily's free-spirited nature, someone who never imposed any expectations on him. He felt guilty every time he grew closer to Emily, yet he couldn't resist when she showed up. During their encounters, Emily would subtly bring up the main character's perfection and busyness. "She's amazing, isn't she? Always planning every little detail. I don't know how you keep up with her pace." The seemingly innocent remark made Daniel start comparing the two women. He saw the main character as too perfect, too consumed with wedding preparations, and sometimes he even felt like he was just another piece in her flawless plan. But Emily was different. She expected nothing from him, letting him be himself. It made him feel at ease, yet he was also tormented by the guilt of betraying the woman who had always loved him genuinely. Daniel began avoiding the main character, not because he stopped loving her, but because he felt guilty for constantly thinking about Emily. He used work as an excuse to cancel dates, dodged conversations about the wedding, and even felt suffocated by her perfection. He couldn't bring himself to be honest about his feelings, fearing he would hurt her. But he also couldn't force himself to go on as the doubts grew stronger each day. Sinking deeper into manipulation, Emily never missed an opportunity to manipulate Daniel's emotions. As he grew distant from the main character, Emily feigned concern but with calculated subtlety. "I just want you to be happy, Daniel. Don't let anyone pressure you into doing something you don't want to do." Those words made Daniel feel like he was being forced into his current relationship, that he didn't truly want to marry the main character, but was merely conforming to others' expectations. Emily carefully planted seeds of dissatisfaction and discontent in his heart, driving him further away from the woman who genuinely loved him. Daniel was completely lost, unable to distinguish his true feelings from the ones Emily had cunningly orchestrated. He felt trapped and directionless, unsure whether to continue with the main character or break free to pursue the freedom Emily offered. Every time he felt conflicted, Emily was there to comfort him perfectly, making her presence irresistible. Inner conflict and wrong decisions. Daniel felt like he was standing at a crossroads. He loved the main character, but felt suffocated by her perfection. He was attracted to Emily but felt guilty whenever he thought of the main character. This inner turmoil left him directionless, leading him to make the wrong decision of leaving the main character to chase the freedom he thought he found with Emily. Daniel didn't realize that his confusion was all part of Emily's calculated scheme. He thought he was making his own choices, but in reality, he was merely following Emily's masterful manipulation. From a strong-willed man, he became a weak pawn in her game. Resolution, realization, and growth of Daniel. Realizing the manipulation. Daniel stood in front of the mirror in the wedding prep room, his hands trembling as he adjusted his tie. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of his life, yet all he felt was anxiety and a nameless emptiness. His heart sank as he saw his name next to Emily's on the wedding invitation. Everything was perfect, lavish, and grand, but why did he feel so hollow? Whispers from outside the window reached his ears, snapping him out of his daze. The murmurs and knowing glances from the guests began to wake him from his blindness. He caught fragments of their conversations. This was supposed to be her wedding. How could he lose everything like that? Daniel tried to ignore it, but the guilt grew heavier inside him. Images of the main character flashed in his mind, the woman he had once loved deeply, who had spent her youth dreaming of this very day in this very place with him. But now, where was she? How did things end up like this? Then, looking into the mirror, he saw Emily's reflection behind him, her smug smile and victorious gaze. In that moment, everything replayed like a slow-motion movie. He remembered every subtle remark, every calculated gesture from Emily. She was always there at the right moment, knowing exactly when to console him and when to plant seeds of doubt. She made him believe that only she understood him while silently breaking down his relationship piece by piece. Daniel shuddered at the horrifying realization. He hadn't made any decisions on his own. Everything, from his growing distance from the main character to his acceptance of marrying Emily, was the result of her masterful manipulation. He had allowed himself to be a pawn in her game, abandoning the woman who loved him for an illusion. Choosing to face the truth, pain and anger toward himself surged inside Daniel. He felt like a fool, a weakling who lacked the courage to face his true feelings. But this time, he knew he had to confront the consequences. He couldn't continue to deceive himself and everyone else. Daniel walked out of the room, his steps heavy but his resolve unwavering. He approached Emily, who was gleefully adorned in a pristine white wedding dress, a dress that should have belonged to someone else. Her eyes lit up as she saw him, but her smile faltered when she noticed his stern expression. "Daniel, my love, are you ready?" Emily's voice was sweet, but her eyes revealed a flicker of panic. "Emily, we need to talk." Daniel's voice was cold and firm. He faced Emily with no hesitation or confusion in his eyes. His words were clear, cutting through the air. "I was wrong to let myself get caught up in your game. I was wrong to let you manipulate my emotions. And I was wrong to leave the one I truly love." Emily stood frozen, her eyes widening as she realized her perfectly crafted charade had been exposed. She tried to defend herself, but Daniel wasn't interested in hearing any more lies. He took off his wedding ring, his hands shaking, but his determination unyielding. "I can't keep lying to myself or to everyone else. This wedding, everything that's happening today, it's all a mistake." With all the strength he had left, Daniel turned his back on Emily, leaving her standing alone amidst the grand yet hollow ceremony. He walked through the crowd whose eyes had witnessed everything and faced his parents, those who had imposed their expectations on him. With a clear and unwavering voice, he confessed, "I'm sorry for not being strong enough to tell the truth sooner, but I can't live the life you want if my heart isn't in it." Redemption and growth. Daniel walked away from the wedding, not seeking forgiveness, but to redeem himself. He understood that manipulation only succeeded because of his own emotional weakness. He needed time to grow, to face his wrong choices, and to learn to take responsibility for his own life. He didn't reach out to the main character immediately. He knew she deserved time and space to heal from the pain he caused. Instead, he wrote her a letter, not asking for forgiveness, but to tell her the truth. "I was too weak to realize that your love was genuine. I allowed myself to be consumed by doubts born from my own insecurities. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know that you deserve a love that's true, from someone stronger than I was." Daniel faced his own weaknesses, accepting the truth and his own emotional flaws. He began a journey of rediscovery, free from others' expectations or anyone's manipulation. Above all, he learned to love and respect himself before he could love anyone else sincerely. Acceptance and seeking true freedom. Daniel stood atop the hill, gazing down at the city lights shimmering below. Memories flooded back. Everything from the pressures his family placed on his shoulders, the perfection his mother demanded, to the false sense of freedom he felt when he was with Emily. He realized he had been avoiding responsibility by blaming others' expectations, when in fact it was his own fear of facing the truth that held him back. Freedom isn't about running away from responsibility. Freedom is about facing yourself, he whispered, letting the words echo in his mind. He accepted his past and understood that true freedom came from the courage to confront his own mistakes. He didn't need to prove anything to anyone, nor did he have to live up to anyone's expectations except his own. That was when he truly found liberation, not from his family's pressure, not from Emily's manipulation, but from the weakness within himself that had kept him imprisoned all this time. Learning to love and hope for the future. As time passed, Daniel took the opportunity to heal and grow. He volunteered at community centers, helping those in need, learning to give without expecting anything in return. He also spent more time with his family, especially his mother, who he once thought had burdened him with unreasonable expectations. This time, he didn't run away but confronted the issue head-on. "Mom, I know you've always wanted the best for me, but I want to live my own life, even if it's not as perfect as you envisioned. I need to make my own choices and take responsibility for them." Linda was silent for a moment before gently holding his hand. She realized that her own expectations had unintentionally led Daniel astray. She also understood that to see her son truly happy, she needed to learn to let go and allow him to walk his own path. Daniel began to learn how to love and respect himself, not to meet his family's expectations or to please anyone else, but for his own sake. He learned to forgive himself, realizing that perfection doesn't exist and that mistakes are part of life and a necessary step toward growth. Message and meaning. Daniel is neither a villain nor a victim, but a symbol of emotional weakness and confusion. Yet, he also represents growth and liberation by having the courage to face the truth and take responsibility for his own life. This story delivers a powerful message about not letting the past define the future, that mistakes are not the end, but the beginning of maturity and growth. Daniel's journey serves as a reminder that true freedom is not about escaping responsibility, but about accepting oneself, confronting real emotions, and learning to forgive oneself. Ending and hope. Daniel stood on the hilltop, feeling the cold breeze against his face. He had found true freedom, not by being with Emily, not by meeting his family's expectations, but by facing and accepting himself. He had freed himself from the emotional chains he had created. For the first time in a long while, Daniel smiled with genuine relief as he looked toward the distant horizon, where the sun was rising, casting hopeful light on the future he would choose for himself. Learning to forgive himself. After days of drowning in self-blame, Daniel realized that regret couldn't change the past, but it could help him grow. He began learning to forgive himself. A difficult task, since every time he closed his eyes, he saw the main character's face, her tear-filled eyes, and the sorrowful smile when she realized she had been betrayed. The pain in her eyes stabbed at his heart like a knife, suffocating him. But Daniel understood that unless he could forgive himself, he would be trapped in the past and would never be able to move forward. He told himself, "I made mistakes, but I won't let them define my life." Daniel started writing a journal, documenting his thoughts, guilt, fears, and hopes. Each page was a step in his healing journey, helping him face the pain and gradually accept himself with all the flaws and mistakes he had made. Reconnecting with himself and others. Daniel realized that one of the reasons he was so easily manipulated was because he had lost connection with himself and was living too much for others' expectations. He decided to take time to rediscover his values and explore what truly made him happy. He volunteered at orphanages and nursing homes. The innocent smiles of the children and the life stories of the elderly made him realize that happiness didn't come from perfection, but from genuine love and unconditional kindness. He also reconnected with his family, especially his mother, the one he once blamed for imposing unrealistic expectations. But during heartfelt conversations, Daniel realized that all his mother ever wanted was for him to be happy and successful. She just expressed her love through high standards. For the first time, he opened up and shared his true feelings with her. And for the first time, he saw her eyes well up with tears, realizing the pain her expectations had unintentionally caused him. Daniel became a completely different person, not because he changed his personality or appearance, but because he learned to confront and understand his own emotions. He no longer feared pain or ran from the past, but accepted it as a part of his life. He realized that, just like himself, many people were struggling with their emotions. He began sharing his story, not to seek sympathy, but to inspire others who were lost to find their way back to themselves. Those genuine conversations not only helped him heal, but also created powerful empathy with those around him. Emotional value and empathy. Daniel's story carries profound emotional value because it authentically portrays the journey from weakness to growth. It shows that anyone can make mistakes, but not everyone has the courage to face them and seek redemption. Daniel is neither the perfect hero, nor the despicable villain, but a human being, a man who was lost, who made mistakes, but who grew from his suffering. The audience will deeply empathize with Daniel's pain and struggles because everyone, at some point, has been lost in their own emotions. They will see themselves in Daniel's journey as he confronts his pain, learns to forgive himself, and reconnects with those who love him. This story delivers a powerful message about growth and hope, that no matter how many mistakes a person makes, they still have the right to stand up, heal, and find themselves again.